Hey guys, this is Johnny, Threcast, episode 3. Today we have my good friend, Neanderthal. We've been talking for quite a long time, talking about archaeology, talking about art and fiction and politics, of course. How you doing, Neanderthal?
I'm doing quite well. It's good to be able to talk to you once again.
Yeah, you're from Poland, right? And you are an archaeologist, right?
That's right. I study archaeology. Um, it's just a passion project for me. I don't really plan on being an archaeologist full time in the future,
Mm-hmm.
but that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. I was very interested by those little tiny statues that you were putting together. They're like the little monsters on the clay pots.
With those. Um, yes, I've been working on restoring some ancient ceramics that we have excavated.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And it's hard work, but one day they might, you know, uh, place those old things in a museum. Then it will all be worth it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a very like sensitive process, right? You got to go layer by layer. You know, you can't just pull things out of the ground.
That's right. It's a quite delicate process, uh, the excavation.
Yeah, and you
However, yeah, go on.
oh, I was going to go into a different topic. But you keep going.
Um, I must say that as the time goes on, I'm just a little bit disappointed in archaeology overall because, well, it's not a rational science, that's for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and it's not going to be an easy task to adapt it um, to any rational method.
No, no, it's stamp collecting. You know,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, it's history.
Stamp collecting and archaeologists, they're not very serious people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, um, my main one of the main reasons why I've started studying this topic is because of my interest in mythology and all things old and ancient. And very few archaeologists are interested in mythology at all.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about, you know, the meanings of things that people used to make and do in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about, ancient perspectives or reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
only about making a catalog of material remains of um,
Yeah, and
our
that's a
ancestors.
shame because like there's a lot of really interesting things that we can glean about ancient peoples. I mean, you look at Julian Jaynes' book on what is it called? The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. We can glean a lot of interesting things about people, including psychologically. Right, by following their stories.
Yes, definitely.
And you're also working on an RPG, right? And you were showing me that.
Yes, RPGs and other games like board games are I'd say they are my main hobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I find that really fascinating. And you got your own website. Feel free to shout out the name of that website. I'll be sure to link it.
Oh yeah, my website is just the same as the title of the game. It's unaware.author. Neocities.org.
Yeah, yeah. NeoCities is a really nice platform for hosting little HTML websites. You know, and with I actually pay for ChatGPT, so now I can actually design websites like really easily now because I can just type it in what I want. So
Yes, that's pretty cool. I've I was wondering what was a good solution to posting your own content on the internet, and NeoCities really seems like the perfect thing. It's something that belongs to the old internet, the classical one.
yeah, like
The previous
GeoCities and
generation was called GeoCities, I think.
yeah, yeah, that was the name of it.
Yes. I was also thinking of setting up my own page on Tumblr, but lately Tumblr has been going to hell.
Yeah, it's
You know, prompting you to log in at every opportunity, and you can just lurk. And I hate that. I think that internet should be lurker friendly, as it were.
mhm. Yeah, I know Tumblr is like really like paused, so you'd probably be dealing with like a lot of like people that would be like
Like
mad. um
alphabet people, those types, you know.
yeah. What do you call it? And you're not really political though. Like you're kind of like nationalist adjacent, but you're not really interested in politics.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I know so many people that are like that. Like Gomer. The last episode we had, we talked to the sorcerer, right? Solar sorcerer, and these people aren't really interested in politics, but they're kind of like nationalist adjacent. Whereas me, I'm just like obsessed with politics. Like that's all I think about.
I would say that politics bore me just a little bit, but also politics can be a false lead or red herring, as it were.
hmm
Hold on a second. I'm going to find an image, a screenshot of a post that I think explains it quite well.
hmm Let's see. So let me read this for the listeners. This is a post that says, "The people matter. Politics is a red herring. It continues to astound how many of you believe the fundamental problems of today are rooted in economics, the electoral system, personal liberty, or whatever other irrelevant policy or value you have attached yourself to. In all of these debates, there is a fundamental truth being ignored. The quality of a nation is determined by the quality of its people. If the best students in a class work together on a group project, it should be no mystery when they achieve an excellent grade. Did they elect a leader for their group? How did they distribute the workload? What type of paper did they use? These are irrelevant questions." Oh, so I see. So you're not interested in like regular politics. You like would you say that you're more interested in meta politics?
I'm not sure, but
Well, meta
thank you for reading that out loud. I found this post long ago, and I mostly agree with it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with it too. Um like meta politics is stuff like race and like culture, you know, like the broad stuff, not really like particular, like the particular names of different politicians and, what Trump did, and stuff like that. I have no interest in that either.
Um, then yes, sounds like metapolitics would be more up my alley than just regular political discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. What do you call it? So you also find Bill Gates' work interesting?
Yes, definitely. He is a true scholar.
Oh,
He's of a dying breed, as it were. There's very few scientists like him anymore.
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, you look at pop science today. I mean, that's what science has really become. It's people. It's just like bean counting and like pop science. Like people aren't really interested in explaining um, phenomena anymore. I mean, it's just like um, it's really just about like securing Nobel prizes, right? Securing funding and leading people on about questions that can be answered very simply.
Yes, top science and academia in general is a little hopeless, I must admit. I mean, let's just look at what's a good example? Political correctness, for example, really stifles and throttles academia. In archaeology, the history of human evolution, the out of Africa theory,
Mm-hmm.
um, is, well, most people would, to know a thing or two about it, would tell you that it's not exactly correct. It's, um,
What's
well, the popular model of human evolution, from the times of Homo erectus and the time that the various hominids left Africa.
mm-hmm.
Um, it wasn't really the way that you can read about it in encyclopedia, but if if people, if scientists were to go a little more in depth, they would quickly find themselves saying some quite politically incorrect things.
Yeah. Um, so like, where do you think that the first humans like originated from? Oh, the first modern humans.
Um, I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter who were the first modern humans because hominids evolved on multiple continents.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that like I've never really understood why people cared so much. Where like even on the right, like I've never really understood like why people care so much whether we evolved from blacks or not. We're not blacks. I mean, sure, maybe we evolved from them, but who cares? Is that
We are related, but it's a much more distant relation than previously thought.
yeah, I've seen
For
charts.
example, you might find out in some pop science article that modern humans are actually related to the Neanderthals.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will read on and find out that, oh, people from Europe and Asia have up to 3 or 5% of Neanderthal DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And just really think about it for 1 minute. 5% of DNA. Yet how much DNA do we share with an ape, a chimpanzee? Was it 95%, 99%?
Yeah.
And the truth is that that previous number, 5%, it only means a number of, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but it was the number of highly specific genetic markers, not DNA overall.
Yeah, yeah. It can be very
meaning
complicated.
that those 5% of the markers that are found in Asians and Europeans are like Neanderthal only
Hmm.
traits, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. Actually, I think I'm going to read up on that again. So we're done talking.
I know Bill Gates, he actually argues that we didn't interbreed with them at all. That they were basically these like hairy creatures that lived up in the north. They didn't really need clothes or anything, and that we probably wouldn't have mated with them. Um, so I know there's like a lot of different theories, and that's the whole problem with research in general is that these topics are like really complicated, and so there's no way to be objective about them. It's basically just whether we say that something is true or false is just that's just based on our feelings, and those feelings come from evolution. So that's all that is, and that's why I don't really like read Sci-Hub or anything like that anymore. Like I don't really pay attention to stats or anything like that.
That's a good call. And in academia and pop science, the feelings of whether something is true or not mostly depends on what other people think.
Yeah, yeah,
People immediately ask you for a source on whatever it is that you propose, and whether it's reputable, air quotes here around that word, or not, assuage their feeling or not.
yeah. And it's the same thing with replication because all these people the people who are defending like traditional science, like they always point to replication, but it's like replication is just another appeal to authority. Right? You're basically saying everybody else found the same results, so it's true. It's like, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that like there's a lot of nonsense that has lots of witness testimony behind it. I mean, these people are like far right, nationalists, right? And they should be familiar with the fact that testimony is not like that doesn't mean that something necessarily happened, right?
Yes. And just to end the topic of human evolution, um, let me just say that we are related to the Neanderthal, or that we interbred with them in the past, is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. I see. Um, it's really fascinating though that we had like an entirely different, like forget a different race, an entirely different species walking around that we just exterminated. That's pretty surreal. I mean, imagine like, really, if you look at like Aboriginals today, I think Aboriginals are like the closest thing to that because they're just so. If you've ever just looked at them, like they're just so completely different from us. Um,
Well, yes, you can just look at comparison of clothes of people from different continents, and there are some very great differences that you can spot between them.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's like that's something that like a lot of people just like don't understand, and hopefully someday they'll understand as all this AI stuff becomes much more prevalent. Because I know that's like one of the
Oh
yeah.
yeah, by the way, what do you use ChatGPT
Oh, I
for? Because I am a little bit opposed to AI. Seems like a futile effort, but it's something about all those generators of text and images just rubbed me the wrong way, and I've never seriously used one.
yeah
What do you think is a good What do you think is a good use for an AI generator?
I think it's great for research and like especially GPT-4, because like GPT-4 has read about 10% of the internet, which I believe is like pretty much all of the important stuff. Like that's like, you know, like I think 90% of the internet is actually just like garbage links. So like, it's like very useful for like taking like very complicated, very specific questions and getting a good response from someone. Like I've used it for like walking me through things like technical, all sorts of technical things that would take like hours to figure out online, like just by Googling different forum posts and stuff. Like if you have a problem with like some code that you're working on, or like a I don't know, like you have like a very you're trying to look for a very specific kind of app that does a very specific kind of thing. It can find that for you, and it's actually really shocking. Like I know you've said many times that you wouldn't trust it at all for research purposes, but I've been very impressed with the results that I've been getting. But maybe not so much GPT 3.5, but maybe like I've been very impressed by 4. Even though there's like there's a cap on the amount of questions you're allowed to ask per hour.
And that's the latest one,
Yeah, that's the
right?
latest.
I see.
Like I've used it to like program like simple apps and stuff that like I would have only like dreamed about before. So it's really impressive.
When you work with ChatGPT, do you feel like there's like some creativity, some brilliance within this generator, or is it like you are wrangling just a big dumb machine?
It feels kind of like in between that. It's like it feels like a generator, but it also feels like a it feels oddly intelligent, I guess. Like I don't know, like I'd have to define like what like I think that like with you'd have to like take rational science and sort of like iron out a lot of those semantics and stuff. Um because I don't think we really understand like how technology works, how psychology works, or anything like that. We certainly don't understand how the mind works, or like the brain. Um, and that's actually what I've been interested in with Gady's work, is actually like looking at psychology from that perspective, with those foundations of physics, with those foundations of science. And it's very complicated, and I keep trying to get Gady to engage with me on it, and he just has no interest in it. And it's kind of frustrating because like only like there's only like 4 or 5 people in the entire world that like actually care about this guy's work, and it's like all those people like they have like no, they just have no interest in talking to me about this. So um
Yes, and that's just too bad. I mean, it's so impressive. He makes hour-long lectures on YouTube, and he answers questions if people ask. He's just putting so much work into all this, and he's got no
yeah,
recognition.
he has no recognition. And you know, it's funny though, because like it's almost like he's kind of given up on getting recognition for it, because it's like all he talks about nowadays is like extinction. Like he keeps talking about how we're the last generation of humans, and basically arguing that like, you know, his ideas like contributing to humanity in any way like don't really matter. So, you know what? But you know the thing is though, he has been talking about these ideas for a long time about extinction. Like he has been talking about them for like I think since like I think for like 20 years or so. Um, but that may be because he's just sort of
Yes,
browbeaten, because he was a communist and he lost, right? He got arrested, and then the Soviet Union fell apart. So he spent 3 years in jail and lost. Um, and so I think he's just sort of browbeaten, honestly. Like I'm not exactly sure. Like I don't really. Here's the thing with Gady is I don't really know him that well, so I don't really know what's going on in his head. I can't tell you why he does what he does, but I don't know. Maybe he still thinks that like there's some importance to his work. Maybe I don't. I really don't understand why he keeps talking about this stuff. So
Yes. And just to criticize Mr. Gady a bit, he has, I found, a little bit of an annoying habit of wasting time on things that he's not talking about. I mean, there was like 7 episode long series,
mhm.
each episode an hour long, about vacuum, void, nothing, you know? And the first 3 or 4 is just saying, um, is this what we are talking about? No, it's definitely not this. And he just explains another thing, another goes on and on, and is this what we are talking about? No, not this either. A little bit amusing.
Yeah,
Um,
he's a funny guy though.
it can go back, yes, entertaining too. If you can go back a bit to the topic of AI and psychology, I've recently said that the reason that AI generators might seem advanced is not because they are exactly so complex and advanced, but because human beings are more simple than we thought before.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Um, my conception of psychology is that the brain is just a picture flipper, and we can actually just draw all the stuff. So when we're talking about like a personality disorder, for example, we should be able to draw what's going on in that person's head and try to imagine, what kind of feelings those images trigger. So it's very simple, and it's just the conscious and the subconscious and all that. Like that's just different rooms in the house, so to speak. You have different sets of images flipping in different parts of the brain. So um, to me, it's very simple. It's just we have to pay like close attention to the kinds of images that are appearing, and the rest should be very, very simple.
Yes, definitely. Also, I've recently came across someone saying um, a new idea, something quite hardcore. I'm not sure I can agree with him, but he said that a sub 80 IQ person who delegates their thinking to a generator is a good thing, actually.
Wait, can you repeat that?
A, a low intelligence person, for example, a sub 80
Yeah.
IQ, let's just use IQ as a simplification. I know that it's statistics and all, but we'll know what I mean. A sub 80 IQ person who delegates all their thinking to an AI generator
Mm-hmm.
is actually a good thing for society.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Because then that person won't be like following their own neuroses and hallucinations. They'll be listening to a super smart computer that just tells them what to do.
You think
That's a
so?
smart idea, actually.
That's terrifying, man.
That's terrifying.
Yes,
What do you?
people will just get dumber and dumber. No one will think for themselves.
Yeah, I mean maybe. I mean I know that
Well,
cat brains are shrinking. I know that and in fact I was talking about the sorcerer about this. The brains of all domesticated animals have been shrinking for a very long time. So it's very
including humans,
I
right?
I believe that autism is something vestigial, and it's probably the way that humans used to think before they were domesticated. Um, just like Varg and the sorcerer have been saying. And I think that research on domesticated animals kind of gives some credence to this idea, because it's like, I mean, you look at the brains of allistic people; they have less nerve connections, so their brains are actually less complex, but they're also more like they're more socially orientated. Um, I think what happened is that human beings, um, like I think that like just being super smart is not like good enough on its own. Like you really have to, as a society, you have to have its members specialize, and so we've sort of been selecting for genes of people who can specialize, um, and so that's what I think has been happening.
Could be
Yeah, it could be.
specialization and conformity is what's selected for.
Yeah, and then like I'd really have to like study allism more, but I'm getting like the first drops of like a real understanding of it, I guess. At least from my perspective.
I highly recommend that you read The Secret of the Shipper. I've mentioned this book to you before.
Yeah, you've recommended that to me. I looked it up. The thing is though, when people tell me to read stuff, like I'm such a scatterbrained person that I'm very like flighty. So I'll just like go. I'll just dip in and out of things, and I'll forget things, but I'll definitely take another look at it.
The author describes herself as autistic too.
Wait, what did you say?
Uh, that the author of this book
Oh, he's autistic.
says about, yes, she says that about herself, I think.
And does a book talk about autism?
I think so. Um, Definitely about, autism and Neanderthal genes
Oh, okay.
and, um,
Yeah, then I'll definitely check it out. Uh,
you know, um, all mythology that, um, let's just say that all myths from the northern hemisphere
mm-hmm.
are related,
I see.
and most of them are about
Mm-hmm.
reincarnation. That's not all they are about, but it's a quite complex model. It's quite different from, the popular view of reincarnation that's based on Hinduism, I think,
Yeah.
or Buddhism, where you can reincarnate into like plants or animals, which just doesn't really make sense. I mean, Hinduism is it's closely related to ancient Indo-European mythologies, but it's been not to be disrespectful, but just a bit dumbed down over the centuries.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know a whole lot about the Indo-European stuff. Like, I'm not a really. I do know a lot of history, but I'm not like. I've never been interested in like the Aryanist, Hyperborean stuff or anything like that. Um, but is it true that there was like sort of a European thing down there, like down in India? Is that true?
Mm. Well, yes. I couldn't tell you exactly how the history of, you know, the migrations and conquests of all these various people went, but it is true. European roots uh, reach all the way into the Indian subcontinent.
Oh wow, I actually didn't know that. Um,
Actually, I think that the caste system in India where people are divided by like bloodline, by caste.
Mm.
That's a remnant of being conquered by lighter skinned European ancestors.
I see.
And the people who, you know, retained more of those traits, those formed the high caste.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that's
Also, I've heard.
and that's sort of why there's like this. Is that sort of why there's this like Northern Indian versus Southern Indian divide?
Yes, I think that's related to this too.
Okay.
I'm not sure about it. I'm not that interested in, you know, ethnology outside of Europe. But I think I've read something to that effect
Mm-hmm.
one time.
Yeah. Can I ask you something like do you read like a lot of like history books?
No, actually, not at all.
Yeah, I never really, unless it was something like really interesting, like the book that Moldbug recommended. It was called The True History of the American Revolution. I thought that was really interesting. I didn't read the whole thing, but like I'm really impulsive. So if I see something that really interests me, I'll just jump on that and start reading it immediately. Um, I wanted to read. I know you saw in the chat. I wanted to read like more about like pimping because of the short story I was working on. Because I want to like pick up little details from like pimp culture and like and stuff like that. I should really study it more.
Okay, that's fine.
It's
Um,
another.
did you see that DJ Kamji video about how he's going to become a pimp in
Oh
a car?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
gotta show
Anyway,
those girls, gotta show them a good time, Just gotta show them your pimp hand.
he's gotta keep his pimp hand
Yeah.
strong. Anyway, about history. Recent history, let's just say the last 1,000 years, or a few centuries at least, it's just full of waste and misery and, brother
Hmm.
wars. And anytime I, read about any war or conquest or genocide, I
Hmm.
just get depressed. I do like to, read about mythology and folklore because I guess that mm, I guess that I'm a little bit of a religious person at my core.
Yeah.
I used to be interested in like um, Christianity and different sects of Christianity, but because what we have in Poland, like Catholicism, it's extremely silly.
Hmm.
Actually, it's an extremely funny religion.
Yeah, I've tried.
We've got saints. We've got a saint that you can pray to for any occasion, like um, Saint Christopher is the patron saint of drivers and anyone who travels or operates machines or something like that. Or, for example, um, you've got sick with some rare disease, there's a saint you can pray to who will heal you. Or you've lost something, there's a saint for that too.
Yeah, the Saints of Mousetraps.
And
Saint Mousetrap.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was one. But I think this is because mm, it's a mixture of, you know, some simple paganism and, many spirits and small gods who are just reflavored to stick with the Abrahamist, you know, scenario.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of like the
Does that make
it
sense?
reminds me a lot of like the old pagan gods where you'd have like little gods in every region, and there'd be gods that would be responsible for like the minutest details. Um, it sounds very similar. Um, it's an odd connection.
So yeah, I've been interested in mythology for religious reasons, but I do not call myself a pagan because there's a ton of, larpers and cringy people who, you know, claim to know something and are actually just fans of
Yeah.
fiction. Like Vika, for example, is straight up fiction. It was like one book which was written in like the
Hmm.
60s.
Yeah, I the thing is like paganism is really interesting, but it's also like it feels like we don't have all the pieces yet. Like it feels like a very underdeveloped um, way of looking at things. I guess like we don't. I don't think I personally understand it well enough. I mean, I kind of like the way the sorcerer looks at it, where it's more of just sort of this like paganism is kind of like atheistic in a sense. There is some sort of connection there. I mean, and there's probably a reason why pagans and atheists get along so well, and why so many atheists are pagans, for example. Because I've tried with Christianity. I've tried with that, and I just don't like it. I just really don't like it. I've never liked it. I've tried to like it. In 2019 when Nick Fuentes was really popular. I went back to the church. I tried an Orthodox church. I went to SSPX, and it's just I don't believe it. It's just not for me. And I really believe in starting from the world as it is and not as I would like it to be. I think that a lot of these uh, religions, especially for nationalists, is important for nationalists to understand. It promotes a lot of magical thinking. Okay, and if you're interested in power, like you have to uh, start from the world as it is, and that's what I like about atheism. But the problem with atheism is that it's well, what do you do with atheism? It's such a there's really not a whole lot to it, And a lot of people that are atheists, they just become like bitter and anti-religious, and um, they don't really have anything constructive to say. Or if they are constructive, they are the worst kind of people. They're the liberals, these liberal humanists, who think that who believe in like human progress, right, and this other nonsense. So I think that I think that we have I think all the pieces are there, but taking this like atheistic point of view and somehow merging that with paganism, I think is um, I think that the pieces are there. I don't know how to arrange that, right? I don't know how to put that together.
Yes, I see what you're saying. I think that we do not have all the pieces yet, and we might never actually find all
Mm-hmm.
the pieces. I mean, The Secret of the Fiber, that book is a big piece of the puzzle, but there are many, many more to be
Mm-hmm.
uncovered yet. And about atheism, um, I think you are right that many people who are atheists um, are just bitter about other
Mm-hmm.
religions. And I think that atheism can only be productive and successful if it's not based in bitterness, but in, rationality
Mm-hmm.
instead.
Yeah, so that's something I've always been wondering. I do like paganism a lot. It's just that like I don't really believe that Zeus exists. That's stupid. Like, come on. I've only met one like very genuine pagan, and the girl was she was mentally retarded. She was at this mental hospital I was at. But she was a very sweet girl. She's a very sweet girl. She was like this half Jewish girl who really really adorable, and she would tell me all about the different gods that were in her head and everything like that. But like come on, like that stuff doesn't exist. That's nonsense. But like I do like the history and the culture and the stories and everything like that. I do like all that stuff. And you know who else I like? I like John Gardner. And John Gardner practiced Christianity. I don't really know if he was religious or not, given his novel Grendel, where he talks about you know nihilism and all that. But um, he was a scholar of medieval literature, and he kind of lived a sort of pagan lifestyle, and he had like this sort of medievalist aesthetic to him that I really liked. And yeah, like I really like that stuff. It's just that um, I think that it should be a little bit more organized, I guess.
Yes, I mean, things just don't really have meaning as they used to in ancient and medieval times. I mean, mm, celebrities in the UK get knighted, and there are tons of people, who have a sir or lady uh, as the title, and um, that's supposed to be our modern equivalent to chivalry. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
so.
not.
It's useless. Get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I know like they've knighted like rappers and stuff. They've knighted people that are just like rock stars. It's so it's so retarded. And that stuff has to just
Yeah.
be.
And
I
what
think that
else?
stuff just has to be swept away. And like it would be nice. It would be really nice if we had some alternative to Christianity that we could give to nationalists. Because and this is something I keep forgetting is that atheism is very like existentially terrifying. It basically, when you actually think about the real implications of it, without human progress, like without the human progress cult, it's a worldview that says that life is meaningless and that
Yes, it gets Lovecraftian
yeah, it's a
pretty quick.
very brutal way of looking at things. And so it's like, well, how do you get people to accept that? Um, and I think that John Nada, he brought up a good point. Was Jewish people, for example, they live through their people, right? That's sort of so that's one that's an interesting thing you could say. That's an interesting puzzle piece right there. Plus spirituality.
Yes, definitely.
So the religion question is difficult, but I do think it's important. I do think it's important that we have some sort of quasi spiritual thing. I mean, communism was kind of like a quasi spiritual thing. It was this philosophy of history about like uh, the end of history, and basically just the human progress cult. Um, so
Yes. I had hoped that, you know, archaeology would bring more pieces of the puzzle to the table, but as it is now, it's unfortunately
I
unable to.
see. Um, what was I going to say? I know there's people who I know like Ubersoy. He's tried to make nationalism into something progressive, but I don't really like progressivism. Progressivism is what gave us like colonialism and slavery and like, you know, mass immigration and stuff like that, where it's like all you're thinking about is like the betterment of humanity or whatever, and it's like it's all like based on like you know, really capitalistic thinking. You know, it's all about like we gotta raise GDP, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, life expectancy, and I think a lot of that, I think that whole like liberal attitude of like cultural experimentation, like I think that's like really dangerous. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I guess we're all kind of progressives in the sense that we all want to increase. We all want to make the conditions surrounding our people better. So I guess that does kind of make us progressive. Um, but I've just never liked the whole cloak of that progress stuff. I've never liked it.
I see. I think that labels like progressive or conservative or liberal or whatever else are not very useful for such a
Yeah, they're
discussion.
not really that useful. I've never found them that useful. So, what else? What else have you been up to? What else have you been working on?
You know what? Let's talk about
Oh,
taste.
talk about space. Oh,
No,
taste.
no, taste. I've been saying before that taste is supremely important, and you've seen that poem that I've
Oh yeah,
translated.
yeah, I remember that. Um, yeah, I agree. Taste is important. What in particular about taste? Like, do you mean like art?
It's very difficult to define because, you know, a tasteful person, well, because this poet, Zbigniew Herbert, he argued that taste is what enables a person to fight against tyranny, and he was opposed to, you know, the communist rule,
What? Oh, okay.
communism.
I mean, they had good taste though. You gotta admit, they had their own like aesthetic and everything. So did the National Socialists.
Yes, maybe, but he would think that it was all very fake and
I
ugly.
see.
And he argued that taste, quality, and beauty is what really opposes tyranny. And I would say that a tasteful person, um, in essence, one who is able to offer that opposition, um, would also be tasteful in other areas of his life, like could be dress nice, listen to beautiful music,
I
and so on and
see.
so
I
forth.
see. That's an interesting take. I never would have thought of it that way. Um, what was I gonna say? Uh,
Do you think that taste can be taught to people? I think that tasteful things can be promoted, but everyone is free to accept them or reject them. And if you, for example, would try to say if you had a family, had children, if you would rigorously teach them about tasteful things, they would definitely rebel against you and not become
I
tasteful
think
people.
that
So
if you show them aspects that they can appreciate that they wouldn't have noticed, then you can kind of teach them taste. Like for example, the Dia Beacon, I visited a lot. I used to hate it. I used to hate it because I thought it was just stupid modern art that was pretentious or whatever. But then I actually read about it, and I started to understand what these people were fixated on. Okay, and so I began to focus on those things, and I can now appreciate that stuff. So I do think it can be taught, but there's also limits to that because most people are allistic for one thing, and allistic people just don't care. They just have no interest. I mean, that's why people have historically hated abstract art, is because it's like you're not autistic. You wouldn't get it. Like modern, like most abstract art is just like made by autistic people who are obsessed with like little fixations, right? Or there's people that'll say, oh well, it's what do you call it? It's just money laundering or whatever. That's not entirely true. Like a lot of this is created from a genuine place, right? Like you can't tell me that like Richard Serra is just a con man. Like come on. Like the guy is using manufacturing equipment from like the 1800s that was used to make battleships. Okay, and he's using all the. This is very complicated. He's using all these computer programs, these very old computer programs, to bend pieces of steel. It's very difficult and complicated. But it's like normal people would not be able to understand that or appreciate it.
Yes, I mean autistic artists usually pose some challenge to the viewer of their art. I think we could say that an artist, a tasteful artist, wishes to tell their world, which sounds with some music that
I
only
see.
he can hear.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing too is that
And
I'm sorry.
maybe,
The
yeah,
other
go
thing
on.
too, and I know this is like a common talking point, but like taste is like kind of a matter of opinion. It's just that most human beings will gravitate towards certain kinds of art, so certain kinds of imagery, and like they won't. Most people won't want to look at like a banana taped to a wall, for example, or like like some like the nonsense you find in like modern art museums. Most people don't like that. Like most people don't like some guy screaming in a corner or something. you know. But
Yes. But overall, it's like a good thing that someone did tape that banana to the wall and that guy did scream in the corner for an hour.
yeah, it's
Just because, just for the perspective that
mhm.
it can offer.
Yeah, and the way I always think about it is like even like the really crappy art like that. At least it's been done. At least we've explored that option, right? But I don't know. When it comes to taste, I haven't really thought a whole lot about it, I guess, and I've always been of the perspective that it's subjective and that but here's the other thing is that even though I am a relativist on that, I'm a perfectionist as well. And perfectionism is one of the most reviled ideas in modern culture. The idea that something could be perfect. Um, People just hate that idea. It's so elitist and so hierarchical and so supremacist. People just hate that. People are egalitarians about art, and they want people to create anything they want, or they want them to be efficient content creators. They want them to make their art into a business. They want them to like make a living off of what they create.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the other important thing. I think that a piece of art that is made with the specific purpose of, you know, getting sold, making money, precludes it from
Mm-hmm.
being tasteful at all. I mean, whenever you are making something, ask yourself, are you doing this to tell your world, or are you doing this to
Yeah.
make a quick buck? It's the other one, probably, well, it is art, but it's not going to be tasteful art. And the problem is the biggest in, I think, the movie industry.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, definitely the movie industry, and the reason why that is just because movies are such a gamble and they're such an undertaking with so many different people that you really need like to play it safe, and you really need. So that's why I've never liked animation. Like I used to like animation, but that's why I don't like film. That's why I don't like animation because it's you can't. There's not really a whole lot of room for creativity, and when there is room for that, it's very rare. It's like you'll have someone like Hayao Miyazaki, for example, who was just like this very controlling narcissist who micromanages his entire team. And I never wanted to be someone like that, but that's what you kind of have to be if you want creative control. Because people are just going to do things that you don't like, right? Why not just do it yourself if you're such a micromanager? But there's also like this weird in between where it's like people are trying to make art that they like, and not really think about money, but then also try to make money with it. And that was something I was trying to do, and that just I don't really think that works, because like I mean I did a poll on some of the artwork that I've made recently, and the kind of art that people like that I make, it's like really it's like they're really like it's the most accessible art, I guess. So it's like the most. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Like the most accessible art is going to be the most popular. Um, but like my favorite artworks, like people didn't really like those. Um, so art is not.
Of both, like, the most
Yeah,
experimental pieces, you would say?
like people like people like the one with the objects on the blanket. Like people like that one, but they didn't really like the close up of the ginger woman. Like they didn't really like that one. So like they like ones that are like more obvious, I guess. So like, I mean, I don't care. I'm not like people can think whatever they want, and I think that's a really important skill too to learn is like how to accept that people don't like your art or like be able to accept criticism. But yeah, I mean, there's this like really weird thing with art and money, and like it's like now that we don't really pursue perfection, and I mean, granted, like being an artist a long time ago, that was sort of like a more of a bourgeois activity. Um, uh, like that involved a lot of money, that involved a lot of training and stuff like that. Like, still, like, um, perfection was something that used to be like at least like taken very seriously in the old days, and like nowadays, like perfectionism is kind of taboo. Actually, like people like when if you ever bring up like the fact that like you're a perfectionist or you're into like perfect art or that you have like a hierarchical view of art, people will get really angry with you and they will counter you at every turn. I mean, that's sort of what happened with John Gardner. Though I do have to admit that John Gardner was kind of a jackass, but yeah,
He
yeah,
was
he
a
was,
maniac.
he was, and he was too aggressive.
I liked
Yeah,
liked his book though. Art of Fiction is one of the best books
yeah,
for writers,
I
I
completely
think.
agree. It's an excellent book, and we've been reading lots of these books
Yes.
in the Telegram. Like I've read about
Yeah, I've
yeah,
read like four of
so
them,
far I've read
I
about
think.
19, I think, and most of them are just not very good. Like, but Gardner's is awesome. I love Gardner. Um,
Yes.
but
Top shelf. Anyway, about perfectionism and the ability to sell your art to others. As I design my game, Unaware.author, um, my goal is not to get published or sell it to anyone or anything like that. What I want to do is create a system to play a couple of
Mm-hmm.
long-term games with all my groups of friends. And as I'm discussing some ideas with them, someone inevitably asks about, some of the stranger or edgier ideas like, oh, you think that's gonna sell? Oh, you think they're gonna publish that? And I'm like, no, of course not. And I get slightly annoyed. I mean, RPGs are a
Mm-hmm.
very strange market. I mean, like Dungeons and Dragons is it has a lion's share of the market, but other smaller games like uh, indie ones do get published all the time with varying
Mm-hmm.
degrees of success. I don't think I would like my game to be like published internationally with you know my name on it and some strange fucked up little communities would emerge. I don't think I would like that with my game.
Yeah,
I guess that I'm also slightly controlling about what I make.
you what?
I'm kind of, also a control freak about what I make.
Yeah, I am
I
too.
mean, I can imagine myself getting slightly annoyed about, some other group of people playing my game wrong, as it were. When there's, of course, no
Yeah,
wrong game to play any RPG.
but yeah, that's yeah, like I mean, it's so silly too because it's like these people that want you to like produce content like efficiently. It's like, well, I mean, like it's not enough to have a product, especially not in an age where the market is completely oversaturated, right? Like, we live in an oversaturated media environment. People have access to so much content that they're just going to look at your thing for 5 seconds and that's going to be it. Like, so that's sort of what's driven me is like, I want to get people's attention. Like, I do want that. I do really want to, and I guess it's kind of narcissistic, like, because when I was younger, like, I was really like kind of an attention seeker and I would try to use art to get attention. But like if you want to stand out, you have to like create perfect art. You have to create art that's very potent. And so that's sort of why I moved away from animation. I moved into like sort of like illustrated fiction because it's like it allows me to have complete control over what I'm making, and it's like I feel it's like the most potent form of expression because it's like it's combining not just pictures but also it's using the pictures very efficiently to color the text. It's not like a graphic novel where there's just tons of pictures. It's like you have one picture and it sort of colors the rest of the text, and it sort of affects the way that you interpret that text. And that's actually why I've been so interested in. That's what
I see.
drove me to Bill Gates' work is that I just wanted to understand like the foundations of fiction and art so that I can create the most potent kind of art possible that has you constantly going through different kinds of completion. Um, and the other day I was talking about anticipatory completion. Um, so there's still a lot of research to be done, but I've used rational science to become a much more efficient and effective artist, right? And yeah, it's true. I haven't really published anything yet, but I won't publish something unless it's perfect. And I have a definition for perfect. Perfect is not some sort of platonic form that nobody can reach or something like that. Perfect just means that you are satisfied with no objections. So that's what it means: is that there's absolutely no objections, and you have a very, very good feeling about it. So that's all that means.
Yes, I feel like from um, an artist's perspective, like there's nothing more to add, nothing else to take away. Then it's perfect. And by the way, about oversaturation, I posted another image about it. Who can read it later? But there's this new term that's going around like attention economy.
What is it called?
It's despicable.
Oh, attention economy.
Attention economy.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
I think I've heard that.
how long and how effectively you can grab someone's attention, and that's what, you know, really makes money in the market
Yeah.
of entertainment and
Yeah,
all
I've heard
sorts of
that term.
content.
Does that term come from like academic agent?
I'm not sure. I might have heard it in a video essay or a blog post,
Yeah. I mean,
whatever.
yeah, I've
I've definitely felt it from something that won my attention for some time.
uh,
Ironically
well,
enough.
I certainly appreciate all the attention that you've given me with my work. I don't often have people pay attention to my work, so it's very flattering.
Yeah, and I try to post, you know, about things that interest me every day. Whenever I find something new that I think might be important or worth looking into, I post it on
And
one of the channels.
eventually we will put together a book, just sort of experimenting with. Basically, the idea of the book is it's a bunch of like short little paragraphs, and each one is just like an original idea. So it's kind of like harassment architecture or like Bronze Age mindset, where it's just a bunch of original ideas, but it's from different people that I find interesting. You know, it's like people don't really publish written works because it's very difficult. It's very difficult writing essays. It's very difficult writing books. And these usually don't get preserved. So I'd like to try and collates, is collate the right word? We'll sort of like gather all this stuff together, and or maybe like start a little website and like try to really promote original ideas, like, because I think a lot of people regurgitate what they've already read, and they don't really like come up with anything new. So I remember there was this like there's this archived book. It's like a collection of like the best green texts on Poll, and I flipped through it and I was like, I've read all this stuff. I already know all this stuff already. This stuff is really old. You know, I want to read some new stuff. I want to progress in my development as a nationalist. So
Yeah, like clean text and all the various boards. I mean, who needs AI when you've got this huge fucked up hive mind
yeah,
right
so
here?
I guess I kind of am a progressive, you know, but it's all very interesting. How long have we been talking? I think yeah, I've
It's been an hour. Yeah, I think we can
yeah.
get ready to wrap it up. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss
I'm actually not
today?
sure. I mean, we'll definitely do more streams and we'll talk about all sorts of other things. But I think you're a really interesting person, and I can't wait to see your finished RPG. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Yes, it's been great. Thank you
Yeah.
for
So
having me.
with that abrupt ending, I apologize, but we'll see you next time, and you guys have a lovely day. So see you guys.